Check. Clap once if you hear me. Clap once if you hear me. Clap twice if you hear me. Clap 3 times if you hear me. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I need some more energy. Good afternoon, everybody. There you go. Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Today's a special day. Knicks are playing, right? Any Knicks fan? Any Knicks fan? Right? But on top of that, we got some tremendous founders here today that will be chatting it up about disruption. Disruption is happening at the cusp of our fingertips right now. And we are going to go ahead and dive deep into these founders' war stories, their beginnings, and what they're building now. So if you can please welcome Ben, Feifan, and Iqram, please, to the stage. And I'll give a little brief before we get into it. Just want to welcome everybody and thanks for joining us on how to disrupt industries. Tonight's conversation is not just going to be about startups, all right? These 3 people here have and learned the journey themselves. They lived through moments where something felt weird, risky, and maybe they had the holy shit moment, right? Where things became obvious for them. Venmo changed how we thought about transcending money. Stripe changed on what builders expected from financial infrastructure. And now we have Ben, Iqram, and Feifan each building into the new realm of technology. So please give a round of applause to the founders on the stage here today. So before we start, I would love to go ahead and start to my left. Iqram, if you can, start with a brief intro of yourself, your background, how you got started, and go from there.
What's up? I love the energy in the room today. I'll start by saying I'm Iqram, fair weather Knicks fan right here. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm very amped for the Knicks tonight. I was one of the co-founders of Venmo back in the day, almost 15 years ago. Sitting next to my good friend Ben Kuo, who now works at Zoe, we met in the first Venmo office a long time ago, got a chance to, it was a handshake and started working with each other next day. That's how it kind of worked. And now I'm working on JellyJelly, which is a fun way to post videos and pay people all across the world with crypto. I see my Zambian brother out there. So good to see you. Like, he can use Jelly in Zambia, which is cool. And yeah, happy to be here with you all.
Nice. Yeah, Iqram is like a father to me. I'm Ben, co-founder of Zoe Computer. Scan the QR code, you can get $100 in AI credits. Scan it right now. I'm waiting for you. Do it. Why aren't you pulling out your phone?
Nice.
Pull out your phone. Also check out JellyJelly. There's like 3 QR codes to scan, so just make sure you scan all of them at some point. Met Iqram a long time ago, 2013, 2012 or so. I worked at Stripe for a long time, from like 2015 to 2023 for most of my life, and now I'm a founder. It's been fun. We'll be talking a lot more about all that stuff, but yeah.
Cool. Hey everyone, I'm Feifan. I feel like I'm an imposter in the midst that flew in from San Francisco this morning just to be here for New York Tech Week, see what it's like out here. Loving the energy out here so far. So thanks for welcoming me and the rest of us. I'm the founder of Lore. There's a slide about us. We're AI-native collaboration. We'll talk more about that later. I met Ben when we were at Stripe. I used to work at Stripe and a bunch of other startups before that as well.
Sweet, let's get the ball rolling, right? So, Iqram, I want to start with you. You started at Venmo, but I want to hear the not polished version. What did the early version of Venmo feel like from the inside of the company before it became obvious to everyone else? In our prep call, you mentioned something that stood out to me, that you were in the trenches. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I'll say Venmo was not the most conventional way to start a company. So we had a lot of very interesting early stories. One being the first version was actually built under the guise of being a yogurt shop in Philadelphia. Venmo's, we were chatting earlier to talk about this, and I figured I'd bring it up. And basically, when you're in the early days of building something, you try to do whatever it takes to get something off the ground. So we had Cortina and I, we had this idea for, paying each other back because I owed him money for a dinner when I came to New York City. But back in the day, we didn't really have companies like Stripe, or there were companies like Braintree, but they didn't really do what Venmo needed. We didn't have crypto at the time that was as prevalent as it is today. So we actually pretended to be a yogurt shop, used their credit card processing, and kind of hacked together a version where I could send you or Cortina ultimately money by selling yogurt. And that's how we pieced together the first version of Venmo. And ultimately that got us shut down. But fortunately, as we pushed forward, one of the guys that was our investors on the board of First Data, which owned the payment processor that we used, and kind of flipped the switch. But in those early days, you kind of have those, what I would say, hacky, non-scalable moments because you'll do whatever it takes. That was one of them.
Sweet, appreciate that. Ben, I got a question for you to kind of just get more insights of your thinking process. You've been around Stripe, you've been around Venmo, you're now building Zoe. Can you give us a short version of your path, but specifically through the lens of what kept pulling you back into building, which is now Zoe?
Yeah, I was a corpo for like 8.5 years at Stripe. It started as a startup, but then became this big company. It was still really fun. It's still a great place to work. Shout out to Stripe. Work at Stripe. It's great. But anyway, I when you're at a place like Stripe, you're watching all these startups blossom all the time, startups and small businesses, and you just get the itch. You get that FOMO, just seeing all these successful companies being born every day. So I just had that itch, and it became irresistible at some point. And Rob is my best friend. We worked at Venmo back in 2013. We met each other on the Venmo team. Shout out to Iqram for bringing us together. But yeah, we decided to reunite and build a company together. Rob's super cracked. He built Substack. Who used Substack? Raise your hand. Yeah, right. Everybody uses Substack in Venmo. We did it, guys. We did it. Anyway, so now we're trying to do it again and build another consumer product called Zoe, which is the personal cloud computer for everyone. Yeah.
Sweet, thank you, Ben. Feifan, you mentioned something in our conversation earlier today. You talked about entrepreneurship as something that required giving yourself permission to break out of conventional track. And I think right now, there's a lot of builders in the room. Can you walk me through what that path was for you starting out?
Yeah, so I grew up to sort of traditional immigrant parents, and so the pressure for me growing up was to always follow the track. Get good grades in school, go to college, get a nice job, climb the ladder, and that's what my dad did for many, many decades. I'm super grateful for him to do that. But that never quite felt right to me. There was always this itch to go do something different, kind of see what the world has to offer. And for me, there was always this tension of, on the one hand, wanting to explore, wanting to kind of live my own adventure, but on the other hand, having to kind of fight through this, the learnings, the conditioning, the guardrails that you put in place for yourself or that your culture puts on you for not trying to break the mold or not trying to stand out. And so I think that's been a journey for me throughout my adult life, going from, it's taking your first job, working for a friend's parents' company, building a website for them, and having to figure out how to do payments processing and that may or may not have been PCI compliant the way I built it that time. It's like starting a company in college and then inventing a class around that to boost my GPA because I wasn't necessarily spending all that much time in my other classes, to leaving a very nice corporate job to starting my own company and just trying to see what I can make for myself. I think it's this constant, it's like pushing boundaries for myself and forcing myself to be a little more uncomfortable and seeing what happens as a result.
Thank you, Feifan. There was one word that kept coming up in our conversation, and Iqram, you got the mic, so I definitely wanted to start with you, and this is just open to the group. The word that kept coming up in our conversation today was trust. In payments, trust is obvious, but in AI, personal data, developer tools, and crypto, trust may be just as important more than ever today. When you're early and unknown on how do you get people to just trust you and the brand and the product that you're building?
How do you do it?
How do you do it?
You gotta convince, so in my situation, you have to convince your friends to support you. And then they will convince their friends to support them. And I feel like we used to have this thing there, shout out to Matt D, actually, one of the reasons I know Ben, called social proof. Like, have y'all heard that term, social proof? Okay, we used to have it on our whiteboard at Venmo, like perpetually, because imagine this, you got me in Cortina, 27-year-olds running around, talking to every one of you saying, give me your phone number, I'm gonna send you $5. And then you get the $5, and the next thing it asks you for is your bank account. And then you gotta take that money from your bank account, put it in, verify that you own the bank account, and then cash that $5 out. Like, that's tough to trust, right? It's also tough to compete with Bank of America or Bank of, Wells Fargo, whatever else existed. So the way we built trust early on is getting our friends to really support the product. And until they really did that, we didn't spread it beyond that. And in my opinion, that's probably the best way you could spread a consumer-facing product, because friends will do anything for their friends, What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely agree. Yeah, the early days of Venmo were crazy. Like, we would just go to bars and try to spread the word and get everybody to pay with Venmo in their room. So I think guerrilla, hands-on, in person, kind of trust building is super important. With Zoe, we're all about that, building community, establishing relationships, real relationships with our users, our top users, and helping them spread the word, going over and flying over to Singapore and meeting everybody there. I think it goes a long way to kind of build trust, especially if you're a new product, to just be very available, not just in person, but also respond to all the messages, just be a cool, chill, real person, not an AI responder bot. It's really important to just spend the time and grind on talking to your users in the early days. It makes a huge difference.
I think the important part is to do what other people aren't willing to do, right? And so you have to kind of put in the work, you have to show up and really care and give a shit about what people ask of you, right? In the early days, the only credibility you have is your ability to show up, and you talk to your first user, and even though they're not paying you anything, you look at their bug reports, you respond to them quickly. This is in the context of B2B, what we're building is more B2B than consumer, but you just show up for these people, and you do what other people aren't necessarily willing to do, right? Every other product that you're used to, you get support responses in 3 days or 3 weeks or maybe never. And if you can get back to a user with a fix in 3 hours, right, that makes them go, wow, this team is on it, they care, they're competent, they fix my issue. And over time, that's how you build that trust.
Thank you, guys. The word disruption is part of the title for this talk today. I want to hear from each and one of you. What does disruption mean to you, and how do you go about disruption? Especially in a world today where we have millions of apps being spun up, and some call it AI slop, some call it AI greatness, but in the word of disruption, what does that look like for you moving forward, not only as builders, but also as founders?
So for me, when I think about disruption, I am always trying to disrupt the status quo. Kind of like, what is the current way of doing things, and how can we kind of, we're in New York City, let's be real.
Yeah.
The New York Knicks are about to disrupt the Spurs. Even though, like, yeah, right?
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Like, even though you go on couch, you go everywhere, everyone's betting against the Knicks. But you know what New York City does? It disrupts the world. That's why we live here, right? Because, Bushwick,
Right.
Manhattan, Little Africa, like, to disrupt something, you have to not only do something different, but you have to break through the noise. Like the jump, like the step, like even today, I feel like we're seeing so many AI companies that have yet to disrupt what ChatGPT did. Because that came in and kind of like disrupted everything, and then you got Zoe, which is about to disrupt all of AI.
Oh yeah.
And come on, give it. But like disrupting something means people change the way they think. They change the way they do things. They change the way they make relationships with people. Like Venmo did that. How many of y'all open up the Venmo feed and check out what's going on once in a while? And then how many of y'all actively choose to make your payments private? Yeah, so that's disruption right there. Because we gave you that choice, right? Like the fact that you decided to make something private means you've got something to hide, right? But we got you to think about making a payment differently from any other way you've done that in the past. And still today, there is not one single place to make a payment that feels like a Venmo. I can stand by that. It's like Stevie Wonder wrote Side Seal Delivered. No one's gonna write a song as good as that. Like that song disrupted Earth, Wind and Fire, September. The people that hated that song, that burned their disco records, are now playing it at every one of their weddings. It was that good. So like that's disruption. You have to like get people to think differently and break through the noise and just cut the crap.
Hell yeah, that's right. It's all about like kind of thinking bigger. Like, there's different ways to like be a founder. You can just do like some vertical SaaS thing and like just like target a specific ICP or whatever they call it. But you can like try to disrupt an industry, or you can just try to disrupt like all of computing. Or, like,
Exactly.
all of like software, right? Like that's real disruption. Or like, go after the big fish. Don't just go after like the small fish. Like, anyway, that's kind of like why I am here and kind of like building. It's like, we're here to like make a big change in the world, like change the way people think about like their computers and the internet and like software, because it's all kind of shitty. I think if you like look at things clearly, you can see that like a lot of things are quite shitty and shouldn't be the way that they are. And if you just like question all of these assumptions that we make about like how things work, you can just see the world really differently and like make these like really big moves on changing the world. It sounds corny to say that, but like I think that is like kind of the whole point of this whole exercise of being a founder working at a startup, is like doing something big. Don't just like do something small.
I think there's this common, what they teach you in startup school or business school is that you identify a problem and then you try building something to solve it. I think disruption comes when you keep pulling on that thread, right? What happens if you solve that problem? What can you enable that wasn't possible before? Or how might users react and how might they reconfigure the way they behave that wasn't possible before, right? You look at something like Venmo, if there wasn't a way to pay each other before as friends, well, now you have an easy way when you go out, you can split the bill right there in person. Maybe that encourages people to go out more. Maybe that encourages people to become roommates with more people. Maybe that leads to more relationships or families, who knows, right? But it's kind of just pulling on that thread of like, you think about second order effects and third order effects and what might the world look like when all of that happens, and then you build for that. You build for the people who take these leaps and are going to be out there doing things a different way, and how can you support them? And that's when you have real disruption.
Sweet, thank you. During our conversation, and just to follow up on that, disruption is one thing, but I'm curious to know does disruption means also creating a great product, or does it mean changing user behavior? And if so, what exactly are you guys trying to disrupt in your own lanes right now?
I'm trying to cause the largest, the most massive, giant migration. Has anyone seen a migration like the wildebeest going from like the one side of the Serengeti to the Masai Mara, or like the seasons?
Kenya, Tanzania.
Yeah, Kenya, Tanzania. You've seen it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you have seen that, all of a sudden people flock, wildebeest will flock from one to another, just like that. So what I'm trying to disrupt right now is like, how sick and tired of it are you all of just opening up Instagram, Facebook, and like LinkedIn, and like seeing a bunch of AI slop? Like, it's kind of frustrating, right? You open it up, it doesn't feel fresh. Now, I'll give you the sort of the analogy. It's like when you eat all this processed food, and then all of a sudden you eat a fresh apple. Like, have you ever done that before? Like, eating organic or non-hormonal food tastes so much better than all this processed junk. And we're starting to realize that the future of health is just non-processed junk. That's what we're trying to do. We're causing the largest migration off of all this junk social media that we're using today to JellyJelly. It starts with you. You guys can all migrate at once.
Yeah.
You just scan that code, right? It's hard. It's hard to migrate from junk because junk is addictive. It like keeps you stuck. But here's the thing that kind of puts the icing on the cake. Not only can you all migrate to this new thing, you can also be financially free, because one of the things crypto enables that not a lot of people, at least in the US, know about is your money when it's crypto, which is cool, which means that the problem with Venmo is if you put Cuban in your payment, or if you put something that OFAC doesn't agree with in your payment, they will freeze your account. John Graham, who was on The Bachelor, the 7th engineer at Venmo, worked with Danny Costa, and guess what? Woo! Yeah, give it up for John Graham, ladies and gentlemen. This is a shout out to John Graham. They were roommates in college. John Graham's Venmo account is banned. Sam Lesson, who was the first investor in Venmo, in Jelly, I think he's also an investor in Zoe, kind of the grand. If I'm his father, he's my grandfather. And he's his grandfather. Banned from Venmo for doing absolute what? What did they do? Nothing. They just because you know why? It's a centralized system that has the ability to make decisions on their behalf, and they get to decide how they control your money. When you come on to Jelly, we don't own your money. Your money is your money. Yeah, you can lose it, so be careful. But that money belongs to you, and anyone in the world can have that money. People without bank accounts can't have that money. So what I want you all to do is migrate to Jelly, get off that junk, and start controlling your money so that maybe y'all are financially free, but the thing is, not everyone in the world is. So you can make a difference by presenting the future.
Hell yeah. I seriously try out JellyJelly.
Yeah, come on, give it up.
Try out JellyJelly. It's like a TikTok, and Venmo had like a beautiful baby with like crypto genes. It's pretty cool. It's very radical. Anyway, yeah, I guess who here misses like the early internet, like MySpace, like GCities, or like their old personal computers when they were kids, right? Like it used to be like so fun and weird and like malleable and like handmade, and people like made cool websites, and it was really wacky. We're trying to bring that spirit back with Zoe Computer, because forever we have not had real homes on the internet. We just like use these like SaaS apps and like websites, and we're just like kind of peering at the internet through these little like holes. We don't have like property on the internet. So Zoe is a home on the internet for you. And we're trying to like give everybody kind of the ability to have like a home in the cloud where you can host your own software, build stuff with AI. And the end goal here is to like really transform and like rewild the internet, because once we have servers, once everybody has their own server, we can take control. We can like take it back. The internet belongs to the people, and it's belonged to these like SaaS companies for way too long, and they just made us peasants. So it's time to stop being a peasant and start being a knight or a lord or a king. Like fuck those like SaaS companies.
So I mentioned that I flew in this morning, and and in JFK, it is you sort of go down these hallways that are probably about 50 miles long.
Takes forever.
Takes forever, and you have these like little like the mobile carpets that go down the middle, right? And you step on them, and if you're like me, you keep walking because you're impatient. And they make you go like 10% faster. You're like, this is great. But in the spirit of true disruption, right? Like none of that changes the airport layout in the first place. Like none of that changed the fact that the airport corridor is 50 miles long. And so to kind of bring this back to AI and Tech Week, right? Like a lot of what we see with AI tools these days is that they give you that little walkway. They make you 10% faster or more productive or whatever, maybe 20, maybe 50%. But they don't fundamentally rethink what airports or work could look like. And so we play that forward, right? What happens if everyone is actually using their AI tools? What does that enable? What does that change in the way that people can get work done? And so with Lore, we're starting with this premise that when teams start living in their cloud codes, in their codecs, the conversations that people are having with these agents are the most important work artifacts. They capture all of your decisions, all of your work in progress, all of the things and the activity and the buzz and the vibe of every team, of every company. And when we have that, we have this live view into what people are working on. We can tell you, hey, this project that you're working on, this other person 2 departments away that you've never met is building something that can help you out. Or maybe you're duplicating each other's effort and you should be working together instead. Then over time, you can keep track of why were things done a certain way, how did people solve this problem before, and all this information is automatically captured from the conversations that you're already having with your AI agents. And so it's early days for our product, and we're continuing to build and explore how people how the way people work can change as a result of having this information available to every person. So we see it as a way to fundamentally empower every person away from the bullshit work about work and all the coordination work and all the status meetings and status updates and all this all these touch points and bi-weekly syncs and all the stuff that everyone hates. If we can just get away from all of that and let people focus on what you like doing or taking time off of work because you're done in half the time. Right? And so that's what we're trying to do with Lore.
Sweet. Thank you guys. I just want to pulse check real quick the audience. If you were to hire a team, would it be agents or would it be humans? Raise your hand if it would be humans. I love that. Keep the human in the loop. Raise your hand if you would be the guy to hire all agents. Cool. That kind of segues into a conversation that, Iqram, I love the analogy, the tiger test, right? And just to talk a little bit about the tiger test, you said early hiring is about asking whether someone can survive in a cage with a tiger. What in the world did that actually mean?
You can probably tell I come from Africa. I love animals. And getting along with them, actually. So the premise of the tiger bomb, the premise of the tiger test, just for some context, back in the day, so when you're building a startup from the ground up, but how many of y'all are building a startup? Okay, wow. So how many of y'all had a team of more than 2? Okay, so like someone a lot of early stage and then farther along. How many of y'all have a team of over 10? Okay. Cool. So we got a lot of entrepreneurs, solo builders, like independent indie builders, founders. When it's time to build your team, you're gonna have to find like either your co-founder or that first, CTO, the people that you can really get along with and work. And the challenges you're gonna face are, one, the best pedigree talent that don't necessarily want to take all the risks in the startup world are probably at Anthropic, Google, Facebook. They've got these massive budgets. They've got a lot of traction. So it's hard, it's hard to attract those people. Then you've got like the people that are in between that, sort of, aren't necessarily the cream of the crop. Now everyone's the cream of the crop to a certain degree, but when I say cream of the crop, I mean as it relates to you. And then there are these kind of oddballs floating around society, like jellyfish, just like jellies, like jellies. And once in a while, the ones that'll sting you and kind of latch on, those are the kinds of people that you potentially want to bring onto your team. Like if you actually look at Rob, Ben, and Danny, like the way they all kind of coalesce together is fantastic. It's fascinating. And they all pass the Tiger test. And what's the Tiger test? It's simple. It's like, look, I don't know what you've done in the past, right? You just graduated from college. Obviously, you didn't get that job at Facebook if you wanted it, but I'm not saying that you wouldn't. It didn't apply. There were a lot of people that I hired at the early days of Venmo that didn't get the job at Facebook or didn't get into business school or but they did pass the Tiger test. And what's the Tiger test? Let me ask you all a question, show of hands. Would Ben Guo be able to survive in a cage with a tiger? What? I mean, it's a simple question. Come on, yeah, right? No, I mean, we need all hands up here. Let's see. I guess you don't pass the tiger test.
I would have when I was younger.
All right, I'll ask you, what about, do you think that I could survive in a cage with a tiger? Yes? Okay. But there's so many ways to survive in a cage with a tiger. Tigers aren't very hot. You can befriend the tiger, and you can fight the tiger. Like tigers are actually friendly animals, and lo and behold, actually there was a large majority of the people, a majority of the people that worked at Venmo in the early days actually had photos of them with the tiger, which I couldn't believe. Like Harold, for example. But yeah, that's the Tiger test. Because when you're in the early days of trying to build a team, a lot of it's based on instinct and whether or not that person can survive in a cage with a tiger.
Didn't you hire somebody in a sauna?
Yes, I did. I did. Yeah, we did. It's like, look, when you're building a company from scratch, have any of you struggled to find talent or hire talent? Are you looking for talent, anyone? Yeah, are you anyone looking for a job?
No, talent.
Okay, talent. Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh wow, a lot of building. This is awesome. Like everyone's building something. Get on Zoe ASAP if you're not. One of the fastest ways to build things. But yeah, like one of the tigers that we hired was in a sauna. Actually, I met him, Peter Zakin, and he passed the tiger test. We played squash. And he was sharp, and we started working together. Yeah.
I appreciate that because I think that leads into a little bit more of like an analogy you also made too. Knicks team again.
The Knicks all passed the tiger test.
But you mentioned something.
Wembley, on the other hand, he does not pass the tiger test. All right, I'm telling you all that straight up.
You mentioned something that was eye-opening for me, and this is just a question for the broader panel. Some of the teams they went to Villanova, right? And as far as for the Knicks, there's huge team chemistry.
Yeah, right.
How important is team chemistry when building a startup?
Yeah.
It's the most important thing, period. Honestly, I'm getting goosebumps sitting in a room with all these Venmo folks and people I've worked with at Thea's over there, Danny, Rob, and we've all worked together in the past. Like, building a team is the most important thing. Actually, the Zone team is kind of like the Knicks. Like, you guys all work together at Venmo, you're doing it again. The Knicks all played together at Villanova. Did you all know that? Like, they played together, a lot of them. They weren't even friends. They became friends through playing in college. Jalen Brunson's dad is the assistant coach of the Knicks. Now they're all playing together in the championship final. Like, that team has a they're going to win. Like, we all know that. But yeah, the team is the most important thing, period. Because my favorite quote is work with people you love because love will lead the way.
Love you, dude.
I like it.
Yeah,
We're
that's,
hiring you.
yeah, I actually,
There's a cage with a tiger downstairs.
oh, sick, sick. Yeah, I didn't, I applied to other jobs before Venmo, I didn't get in. So. Really lucky that I passed the tiger test. But it's just important to take a bet on people, you know? Like, I wasn't like the best engineer back then. I was like new grad out of college, didn't know anything. But some new grads, they have like that vibe, and I think like as a founder, you have to like sense the vibe. Whether you call it the tiger test or whatever, like sometimes you just know, and that filter is like so important because you're like building the vibe, and like every person you add to your team is like changing the vibe. So just it's really important to like think about what vibe you want, what type of culture you want to build. And I think to me, I think like what's most important is to like find people that are like totally obsessed. That like are able to like get into that flow state about a problem or like something like a spark of inspiration and just like kind of lock in because they like can't stop because like they just want it to be great. That like desire for greatness is like inside of us all, and you just have to like find the right problem to like activate it. And like if somebody has that with the thing that you're building, you can see it, you can sense the vibe, you can sense that it'll activate when they start working with you. So that's super important in general. Whether you're like forming a team or like forming a startup or just like finding somebody to work with on anything, like the vibe has to be right. You have to like both want to like lock in and just like, you know, stay up all night working on this thing. Yeah.
There's a couple of fundamental constraints in a startup. You have your time, your money, and your energy, really. The startup industrial complex makes it pretty easy to solve the money problem. It's a pretty well-trodden path to raise. And once you have that and you start hiring a team, then your fundamental constraint becomes energy. And the good news is energy is not a finite resource. It's not like your runway at the beginning where it's just going down and hopefully you can make it before it goes to zero, right? Energy can be given or taken by the people on your team. And so I think two things that I would look for. One is, like Iqram was saying, you have to really enjoy and love the people that you work with. Matt and Paulina from our team are somewhere here in the audience. Love you, Matt. Love you, Paulina. I know where you are. It's been a pleasure working with all of you. The second thing is what I call the like idea leverage, right? It's like, how well do you communicate with the people on your team? With some people that I've talked to, you can say a sentence and communicate a paragraph. And that gives you energy, that gives you leverage. You can say a couple words and they understand what you mean and they run with it and they riff with it. It's a lot of fun when you get that. Other people, you have to say a paragraph to communicate a sentence, right? They just really don't get it. You have to explain a ton of background, you have to explain a ton of context. And those are the people that for me drain my energy. And so that's probably my equivalent of the tiger test. Do they give me energy when we're communicating? Are we riffing or are they taking energy out from this conversation?
I love that. I love that a lot. There's a lot of builders in this room, and I'm actually going to pivot and talk a little bit about the art of the pivot. Every founder says they are persistent, but persistence and denial can look very similar from the inside. How do you know when to keep pushing versus the pivot? That's hard.
This is a challenge for me, though. I will push the same thing for 10 years straight. You know, I heard, I was laughing with Ben earlier because I heard, I like Ben open live streaming right now. Like for the past 10 years, have been recording a lot of the conversations I'm in. And, you know, even I think Ben, Rob over there has some edits from back in the day. Like I would go around recording all these things. And then to hear an Andreessen partner yesterday say his hot take is people should record all their meetings. Like, I'm recording that. Exactly, I couldn't believe it. I mean, so for me, pivoting is tough because I get on something and I won't stop. But I could flash back to a couple of Venmo moments where we almost turned the company into something different because we didn't have enough traction. So I think the very important thing about pivoting and whatnot is kind of, I think one of you were saying, like you were saying this earlier to me about how you're having fun with what you're building now, whereas prior it was not as fun. So like, I even heard people like the Zappos founder talk about like, if I'm not happy walking into work for 30 days in a row, then I know I need to change something. So for me, I would determine like a pivot based on whether or not I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing on a daily basis, whether that's building something, brainstorming, whiteboarding, whatever. And the minute it starts to feel like work in some weird way, you know, and not play or not fun or, you know, creativity around building something, that's when I start to sort of pivot. And that's sort of my signal. Like, so for example, at Venmo, we almost changed into a vacuum sharing company or like a Kindle, like a book reading company. Like these are ideas that we had because like the traction for Venmo wasn't that great. Imagine if we turned that into like a way to share your vacuum. That would have been ludicrous if I think about it, but we did evaluate it. But yeah, because we didn't see that traction, but something kept pulling us back into it, and we were, you know, we still had fun and we had that responsibility with our users. So yeah, that's how I do it.
Nice. Zoe Computer actually started out as a different company or a different product, and we were building an inference platform, like a developer platform. It made sense at the time, like everybody Stripe and like built developer APIs, and it was just like kind of maybe like a trad idea, and I think like maybe under the surface, if I like think about like Rob and I and our kind of like journey to arriving at Substrate, the original business, it was like, I think it came out of fear that like we did this thing that just felt reasonable instead of like this like huge thing, which the computer now is. Like I think the pivot maybe came out of like this ambition to go bigger with that dream and to like not just serve developers, but like serve like the next generation of developers and like serve my mom and like our friends. Like why not make your customer everybody on earth? Why just target an ICP? Like people tell you ICP, I don't even know what that stands for. The ICP is everyone.
We recently went through a pivot. It's kind of still ongoing, actually. Previously, we built a product that was called Tanagram. That's also the name of the company. Lore is obviously our new product, but Tanagram was, in essence, a code review tool. And like Ben, it made sense in 2024 when we started. For how we thought about the pivots, part of it was just business realities. We were spending $5,000 a day in tokens, and our revenue was nowhere near that. So at some point, it was just business realities. But I think the more interesting aspect is, again, this idea of energy, right? I think, and in this case, it was the conversations that we were having with prospects and with our users when we were doing the code review product. A lot of the conversations felt like pushing a boulder uphill or pulling teeth. There was like a distinct lack of interest. We talk to people about code review for whatever reason. We can come find me offline. We can talk about market dynamics there. It's just like there's sort of this allergic reaction from buyers in the market. And when we talk to people about Lore now, the energy feels very different. There's a lot more pull. There's a lot more sort of a collaborative. We have conversations where like, it's like a CTO of some company starts out skeptical, but then sort of talks themselves into, oh, this could actually be really exciting for XYZ use case. And when we get that energy, that's fuel for me as a founder and for our team, because we have clear use cases, we have clear excitement. And so that paying attention to the energy and how these conversations feel, that's also a big signal for us.
Thank you. Ben, I'm actually gonna I wanna dig deeper a little bit for you. During our call, you mentioned that you knew something was working when random people were using it obsessively, even when it was still janky. Talk to me a little bit more about that. At what level of user love is enough to override the product's rough edges?
Yeah, so Rob conceived the Zoe idea, Rob over there, and the idea was kind of radical. It's just the idea that like the server has never been a consumer device. what if we try to make the server a consumer grade device? And my mom was actually one of our early beta users. It was like pretty janky back then, but she started using it and she just fell in love with it. She's a biologist, she's not technical at all, she doesn't know how to code, but she was like kind of vibe coding stuff all of a sudden, and it was like wild. Like my mom has a personal server and she's writing Python, like crazy. Like what a wild time to be alive. And that was like one of the first sparks for me, like this is actually gonna work. And then like, we we just like launched a beta on Twitter, and then like some power users just came out of the woodwork and they were telling me that they're like using Zoe for like 12 hours a day. They're non-technical, and they never used like an IDE before, or like I didn't know anything about coding, but they're like using Zoe like an IDE, like a development environment, and just like spending all this time like building stuff. And they told me that like this is like the first time to experience like that joy of being a builder that they kind of like imagined that builders had, like their engineer friends. And that was just like amazing. And I was like, shit, we have something here. So we leaned in, hired a whole team, hired Ray, our first employee. Hell yeah, love Ray, he's so good. Anyway, a lot of our team's here. Yeah, sometimes you just know by like how obsessed users are with your products that there's something there, even if there's a few people.
We're still figuring it out, but I think it's surprising, right? When you have users who come back to the product, and you almost you get this urge to kind of ask them like, why are you using this? Right? It's like, what keeps you coming back? Why do you still have this installed? Why haven't you deleted it already? Because of all these concerns that you maybe come up with in your own head of, this product doesn't work, it's buggy, it has all these problems. But when you have users who kind of keep coming back and proactively tell you about, hey, here's this cool use case that I have with Lore. We even have like two-person teams using Lore. And I'm like, why? Right? And they're like two founders who ship super fast, who are also using their products, and they don't want to bother each other. Right? They're super locked in all the time. They're partly remote. They don't want to bother each other, and they're using Lore as a way to keep track of what they're doing, and they can sort of ask Lore what my co-founder's been up to, or has my co-founder addressed this bug that I was just talking to a user about half an hour ago. And so like your users find these use cases and they tell you about them because they're excited about it. And I think that's a strong early signal.
Feifan, you could hold the mic real quick and we'll come back this way. Because there's a huge trend right now. A lot of builders are posting 10K MRR, 40K MRR, right? So what signal do you trust more? User obsession, revenue, investor interest, team energy, or your own intuition? What matters?
Definitely not investor interest. It's not a good leading indicator. Sorry for any investors in the room. I think it depends on the space that you're building in a little bit. I think maybe more in consumer, it's a bit more of that user intuition. In B2B, it's typically revenue, right? Because in B2B, the ultimate metric is, are you solving a real problem that someone has, and do they care enough to pay you for it? Are you driving business value at the end of the day? So it does come down to revenue. And in B2B, you have sort of this interesting hurdle where it's almost harder to get in, and you have to prove a really clear case. But once you're in, you have a bit of lock-in as people build their workflows around you, and they come to depend on you for their workflow. So I ultimately look at revenue, and can you make these sales, and are users happy with the value that you're delivering?
Here's your answer.
Can you remind me of the question?
Yes. The question is, what signal do you trust more? Oh, user obsession, revenue, investor interest, team energy, or your own intuition?
For me, it's a combination of intuition and an investor / like runway. So I think part of what it would be naive of me to say only intuition, because like you have to be able to put either, if you're going to put a team together, or have some sort of runway. So, I think I've been fortunate to have had investors that kind of lock into my intuition if I'm the founder. So I tried, so it's a combination of both because our investors at Jelly, for example, have similar intuition to us, and they also help devise or drive our intuition. So both.
Sweet.
Yeah, for me, I'm extremely online. I'm very on Twitter and LinkedIn. And when you're building a consumer product, like what signal you're looking for, I think, is like people naturally sharing your product and just like talking about how great it is. And the more that's happening, like the better signal that you're kind of on the right path and like that your marketing is like going in the right direction. And when people like Addy are kind of coming as Zoe users and like hosting a panel with like some people and like just when you have like users like so amped about the thing that they want to like show up in person, like that's the real deal, I think. Like they're not just showing up online, not just using a product, not just posting about it. They're coming in person to like see you and help out. That's like I think like real signal that like there's something real here and you're like building a movement. I think as a consumer product, you have to be building a movement. That's the only way to succeed.
Sweet. I think on that same tangent, I'll go to Iqram real quick. You know, in our call, you mentioned the next wave of disruptive AI companies may be consumer facing because once consumer products hit critical mass, they become very hard to dislodge. Why do you believe consumer AI is such a powerful place to build right now?
I think because network effect, in my opinion, is going to be the largest competitive moat for a lot of the companies being started in the next, in this generation. And a lot of the companies that already have these network effects have a pretty significant advantage. Like it's easy for Google to kind of launch a bunch of AI products and help people. So I love what Ben is talking about with building a movement. I'm building a migration. And it's like M&M baby, like peanut M&Ms, peanut butter and jelly, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, like building a movement, a migration, and a moat is the most important thing you can do in today's time if you're building something from scratch. Because it is easy to switch from ChatGPT to Claude to, I mean, we see it. It's almost like a,
It's a mini migration.
yeah, everyone's like migrating. But what? If there's one thing I learned at Venmo, it's very hard to migrate your financial network. Right?
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to do that. 100 million people use Venmo, and so I've had a taste of what it's like to get something that's impenetrable. And if you're building something in consumer where you're getting them vetted emotionally, like financially. Now, what I love about what Zoe is doing, Zoe learns you the more you use it, right? Like it gets better and better at understanding you, and it ultimately assists you better than anything out there once you get kind of locked into it. So once you lock in, it really helps you progress beyond your imagination. So think of that when you're building something consumer, because and that's what there's nothing more exciting than showing up to a group of people and they're like, you see that Zoe logo, you see Jelly, you're like, look at the Knicks, like talk about like the brand recognition, like that's part of loyalty. Yeah. So I love that Ben is out there in public building. Like we're all putting this this consumer energy out because ultimately we're after creating something that has emotional lasting value.
Sweet. This question is more tailored to Ben. Zoe is betting on that people will want more personal and programmable computing environment. What changed in AI for you that makes personal software feel possible now more than ever?
Yeah, and it's been this like huge sea change just over the last kind of year or so. We started building Zoe like in April last year, so quite ahead of like a lot of this stuff, like OpenClaw, like giving an agent a computer. But we saw in those early days, because we were just like messing around with like LLMs and like generating code, running our software with like these very janky kind of like code generation tools. Like we used like Aider. Any Aider users out here? Nobody used Aider. Aider was like Claude Code before Claude Code. It was super janky, but we were using it a lot, and like we just saw that like people are going to be able to like build software, do like DevOps, and like run a server and like build their own software and host it in the cloud. Like that's kind of like where things are going. So I think like to really succeed in a big way in consumer, you kind of have to be like a prophet. Like you have to like turn on your like sci-fi brain and like really like see clearly like what is going to happen in the future. And there are like all these trends that you can look at. Like for us, the big inspiration was like the trend of personal computing. So the computer started as like the mainframe. It was like this like millions of dollars, like kind of business machine, huge, occupied like this whole room. Only like big companies had them. But then eventually everybody on earth had a computer, like multiple computers. And the same thing is going to happen today with like everything inside of a software company. Like the software companies of today, they use cloud computing, they have all this software hosted in the cloud. Regular people like my mom is going to have like all of the compute capacity and like infrastructure of the whole software company. That sounds insane, but like it's not going to feel insane in the future. Just like we have like an iPhone, like a supercomputer in our pockets. So I think that form of like looking ahead into the future is like super important.
Thank you, man. Feifan, this is more for you. Lore starts from the observation that teams increasingly live in Claude, Codex, and other agents. What happens to accompany knowledge when the most important work is happening inside of those sessions?
The way I think about this is that knowledge work historically has followed this waterfall pattern. If you're a software engineer, you might have heard of like waterfall development, right? It's like someone goes away in a room, comes up with this giant spec, comes up with all these plans, and then sort of developers go through and execute things step by step, and 18 months later, you press out a bunch of CDs and you ship one to a box or a store. And knowledge work, even with like agile and whatever else people are doing these days, it's kind of still like that. You talk to someone and you convey some kind of idea, maybe in a sentence, maybe in a paragraph, and they go off, come back with reports or a PR a day later, a week later, and you have no visibility into what they're thinking, what they're exploring, how they're digging through the sub-decisions, and are they making implicit assumptions that you wouldn't have made if you were doing it yourself. And as people now interact with these AI agents, they're thinking, they're prompting, the agent's decisions and prompting all becomes visible. And we think that's an incredibly powerful new way of looking at work. You get to save all of these decisions. You get to broadcast what's relevant to everyone else in whatever, however you define relevance, whether it's, it's like two people who should be collaborating or saving people from having to do all these status reports to all of their managers. And you get an archive of all of this decision history. Did the person prompt a certain way? Did the model make a decision that no one saw at the moment, but might come back to bite you later? And having access to all of this information, all this implicit information, making that visible, we think that's a fundamental change in what's possible in knowledge work for the first time.
Thank you. This is open for everyone. If a founder in the audience, because there's a lot of founders and builders right now, wants to avoid building AI slop, what should they pay attention to that most people are ignoring, being that you guys are at the cusp of disruption of technology right now?
I think you have to think a lot about how you want your features to work, right? I think on our team, we're having this conversation this morning and frequently over the last couple of days is like, you have these ideas and they sound like really cool ideas, but then you really have to dig in and you have to think about like, what makes a single person want to use this particular feature, right? Like, what makes them click that button or type that input? What is going through their mind? What are they trying to do? And you really have to model that, like that one user and like, what concretely do they want to do? Because otherwise you can build something that's really cool, but doesn't necessarily, you're sort of building for like an average, but like no one's exactly the average, and so you end up fitting 0 people precisely. Right, so it's really important to kind of think through like who's that specific person, what are they trying to do, and how can you make what you're building fit exactly what they're trying to do.
For me, I feel like this is like an Iqram answer, probably, but like I feel like it has to come from the heart. Like that's where like kind of original ideas really come from. Like you have original ideas inside of you that are like very aligned with who you are as a person, where you come from. And I think it's all about finding that idea. People talk about like founder market fit, but it's deeper than that. It's like, where in your soul do you want to be like spending most of your time? Like, what is like the thing that will like keep you going through like the hard times? And then like once you're building it, like, is it something that like you will feel confident, like, you know, shouting about on stage, like in a stadium, like to like a bunch of people you don't know, or like, will you feel comfortable, like, you know, trying to like pitch like a grandma to like use this thing? Like that's like kind of like the test you have to like kind of like be putting yourself through as you like kind of find that like kind of soul aligned idea.
I love that. You know, I think what the one thing is being disciplined, especially in this AI swap era, about not, you know, trying to do it all, or being disciplined about sort of resetting. Like I think that's a very important part of the life cycle, because we're in an era where like we're all like almost playing this continuous video game, at least in the AI world, and it can become overwhelming and also very enabling and sort of saturated. So discipline about resetting and kind of focus and precision.
Sweet. Let's talk money. All right? Let's talk money. He's excited. I love this guy. Right? You know, he's pulling out the. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, right?
Wow. $100 bill.
All right. Was not money being thrown at us today. You know, in our call, something came up, and that was vibe raising. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I'm not sure who brought it up. I'm not sure if it was
Ben.
Right? Ben, can you talk a little bit more about vibe raising?
So we started joking about the pitch deck in our preparation call. Have you guys made a pitch deck for your company?
You raise your hand if you made a pitch deck.
Have you like pitched the pitch deck to people like slide by slide in the fundraising process? First meeting? No.
Who uses the pitch deck in the first meeting?
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, raise your hand. Okay, some of us, yeah, cool.
So we sort of came to the conclusion that a lot of fundraising is based on vibe raising, where the pitch deck is sort of the exercise or the workout you go through to get to that pitch. But you got to be pretty willing to just toss the pitch deck away and like go off the cuff and win the, you know, whoever you're talking to over like immediately. And oftentimes, in my experience, when I'm going through the pitch deck or the executive summary, and I'm like a parrot reciting what I practice, it almost never leads to the deal. So that's the idea behind vibe. Maybe you can.
I have a question for you though. Like, what's the craziest pitch story you have for the Venmo, or like for small thought for Jelly? Yeah, what's the craziest?
I think the craziest was me, Bill Reddy, at Cortina, and Brian Johnson in a room, in a boardroom, and Amit and a couple other people, and just with no impetus, it was with no preparation whatsoever. We decided to sell Venmo with him, like on the fly, like for a pretty nominal amount, $26 million, and like literally it just came out of my mouth. And Cortina was like, yeah, I mean, whatever. Yeah, there was nothing. We just said, hey, you guys want to buy us? Here's how much we want to do it. Bill Reddy looked at us and said, I'm in. Shook my hand, and then that deal happened. So from that day forward, I try to give back that energy. You know, it's like, you know, I'm always in on whatever Ben's doing. Like it's like, oh, you know, and it's just like, yeah, you gotta throw the pitch deck away sometimes and just get in that cage with the tiger.
Oh yeah, the pitch is the ultimate tiger test in some ways. My advice on pitch decks,
funny.
like even if you do one, like don't spend any time designing it. Like that's a waste of time. I know there's like tools like Gamma or whatever that can like help you design a deck, but like don't just like white background Helvetica, like just like don't bother with all that bullshit. Like I think it's like low signal to like spend any time polishing your pitch deck in general. And you kind of want to stand out anyway. So it's better to just like kind of rehearse and be able to like kind of ad lib and monologue whatever the pitch is. Because you're gonna have to do that. Something you don't realize is that like you're gonna be running that pitch in all of these different flavors and formats, like to the people you want to hire, to like your customers, And the pitch is just like the very beginning of that. It's like the gauntlet they have to go through. And if you can't do it well there, like without your book, then you're gonna fail in the future. So just like really make sure you've got it like internalized. Yeah.
It's almost like the less you have, the better your raise goes.
That's kind of true, yeah.
There's
More mystery.
Yeah.
exactly. Once you have revenue, you're judged on your revenue. If you're pre-revenue, it's full of possibilities. Right? So it's Silicon Valley. And so if you don't have revenue, if you don't have a deck, then anything's possible, right? The more you have, the more of a constraint you have. But kind of two pence point, right? Like you still need to have something, right? You need to have that insight. You need to have a point of view on the world. You need to have something that is, it's like, why are you the one to actually change the world? And you have to really study yourself and really think about it. Is this sort of like that incremental pathway through the airport, or are you redesigning the airport?
Sweet. I want to do something a little bit different, something fun. And then we go back to the questions. We're gonna play a quick game of this or that. All right. Ask Google or ask Jeeves.
You say ask?
Axe Jeeves.
You'll say ask Jeeves.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's Jeeves.
they just shut that down this year, actually.
Yeah, they did. That's what I'm saying. There was some people that was using it.
R.I.P. Jeeves. What that guy?
Anyone familiar with ask Jeeves, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
All right. I don't want to age myself. Okay, carry on.
That's a great one. That's a good one.
All right. MySpace.
Or JellyJelly.
MySpace or Facebook.
MySpace.
MySpace all the way.
MySpace, yeah.
Got those custom profiles, those marquee
Yeah.
tags. Good time.
Okay.
The blink. Yeah, the blink tag.
All right. Skype, video messaging, or Uvo.
What's UFO?
Oh.
Skype.
Skype. No one remembers Uvo? No?
That one, okay.
Okay. A couple of folks remember Uvo.
Nice.
Okay. All right, and last one. AIM Messenger or Yahoo Messenger.
AIM.
Oh,
A
Smarter child.
amazing.
Yeah, AIM was the best.
Yeah.
Sweet. Just wanted to break the ice there for you guys. So going back a little bit for the just by raising, right? There's talks about pitch decks, one pagers, memo. If you were to pick one artifact, would it be the pitch deck? I know, Ben, you're hard on, F the pitch deck, right? But would you pick the pitch deck, the one pager, or just a memo?
Artifact, you said?
Yeah, one artifact. Is it the pitch deck, the one pager, or a memo?
Artifact. Pitch deck. I didn't view any of those as an artifact. Those aren't artifacts. No. Those are boring things. Those don't qualify. I was going to say wobbles, but yeah.
I'll go with none of the above.
None of the
Actually,
above.
when,
Yeah, none of the above.
when we raised, our investor found my personal blog on which I had written probably like 3 or 4 or 5 years worth of like nights and weekends, experiments and progress, and just like the stuff that I've been tinkering with. And I think that's partly the writing style, partly just like the existence proof, the record of what I've been working on. I think that mattered for our investor more than anything else about my pitch.
Yeah, Twitter profile for sure.
I just had this crazy thought in my head that I want to share with you all, which is I feel like the way y'all are looking at us right now is the way you look at your AI doing a bunch of shit. And then these things are popping out at you like pitch deck, artifact, what is it? Wait, vibe racing. It's like, all right, we're hallucinating right now, right? Do you feel like we're hallucinating a little bit? Like, what's the takeaway, guys? What's the takeaway? We need a pro subscription. I'm not giving Christians this.
Oh my
Yo,
God.
give us that around. Come on. Yo, the tokens are running out. The things are about to start. It's unbelievable. Yo, that was amazing. He said we need a pro subscription. We need a ultra. Oh my God. Yeah. So, yeah, compacted. Woo! This was a 10 out of 10 pack. For me, I gotta give it that.
That's a reset.
That's a reset, right? Anyway, yeah, so.
Good. We had these same labs on the call, so great. It was great. We're gonna close it out with some questions.
By the way, our mission was to get you to hallucinate a little bit.
Right. All right, we're gonna close out.
I think we could be here for another 5 hours. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, for the founders and the builders in the room, what is one thing a builder in this room should do in the next 30 days if they want to build something genuinely disruptive?
Probably do nothing. Just wait for Zoe Computer to get done. Can give Zoe Computer 30 days and you'll be in good hands. I'm joking, but I kind of believe that.
I mean, thank you, Iqram. Use JellyJelly.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
exactly.
Financial freedom,
Right?
globalization.
Yeah, just.
You know, and honestly, I think the thing that you're not doing probably is posting like multiple times a day on X and LinkedIn and wherever, TikTok, YouTube, live stream. You know, you're not building your like kind of ability to like perform enough. And I think performance is like extremely important. Whether you're doing B2B or B2C, you're probably not practicing being a performer enough. And I think a lot of founders don't realize how essential that is. I kind of come to being a founder from kind of being a musician. I played in a band, and like I had to like gig around all the time when I was like, you know, pretty young in my 20s while working at Venmo. I like carry my like synthesizers around and like all my gear to like these stages, and I have to like go up and play. And like that's what it's like to be a founder. And you have to like be putting yourself out there, like both IRL and also like online. And it's only through like iteration that you find your voice. And you have to realize that like nobody cares. Nobody is listening to you. And you just have to keep shouting. And people will forget if you shout the wrong way, if you do something embarrassing. Like, don't worry about it. Just like keep doing it. Post multiple times a day. Post when you're like using the bathroom. Just like, post when you're on the subway. Just like find time and time box yourself. I give myself like 1 minute to like write a funny tweet. And if I can't tweet it, then it's over, you know? So just like, it has to be really fast for it to be kind of a habit.
There's a saying that goes, all else being equal, people buy from their friends. So do whatever you can to make things equal and then go make a ton of friends. I think there's, when you come to events like this, I think there's this temptation to kind of collect LinkedIn profiles like a Pokedex. Right? You go talk to someone for like 30 seconds, you get their LinkedIn, you scurry away. But the real value is like, can you make friends? Can you be genuinely interesting? Can you offer to help and provide value and get people to remember you? Because at the end of the day, like that's ultimately what drives things forward. For our previous product, our first ever customer was this pretty big enterprise deal. And the way that happened was the IC champion was someone that you can Stripe. Their manager was my TA from college, right? And so like he remembered me 10 years later with all the fun and not so fun times that we had. And then the director who signed off on the deal was someone that I talked to and had a great conversation with separately a couple weeks before. And that chain lined up, but it's like if your job to be memorable, to be present, to help people remember you in a positive light, you never know how those will compound and come back to you.
Amazing. Oh,
we close it.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Wait, so before we close it out, we gotta do.
Oh,
a chant,
yes,
right?
let's
But
do
no,
a
wait,
chant.
well, hold on. I'm gonna bring the special character.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I have no idea what that
For the next.
Okay, I have to bring wobbles to the.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Wait, and I see some jelly users in here, so if you have jelly, take it out.
Yeah.
We all got a jelly at the same time. Thanks for showing up, by the way. I see Camilla over there. What a beautiful outfit. Look at that.
Nice.
Okay, so grab your jelly. We're gonna do this together, okay? You know, chanting is the most primal way to pass the timing test. Then you can hold it. Okay, so, all right. It's very simple. Let's go, Knicks. Let's go, Knicks. Let's go, Knicks. Go! Let's go, Knicks. 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 Yeah! Let's go, Knicks. Let's go, Knicks. Yeah. All right, give your hands up to Lord. So computer. Let's get it.
Thank you, Robert. Oh, man. You keep me on my toes. I just say this might have been the most fun panel I've ever moderated. Thank you. Thank you, Ben, Iqram.
Thank you.
I think really the biggest takeaway is that there is no clean strategy to starting.
Anything's possible.
Everything is possible. Thank you again.
Thank
A
you.
lot of gems dropped. I would love to open it up to the floor now for some Q&A, if that's possible. Your hand shot right up. Yeah.
Hey, how's it going, Ben?
Yeah.
So I really love, Iqram, your idea of like, if it stops being fun, maybe that's a signal to look deeper. But you know, building a cutting edge company is all this fun. And so I'm wondering what strategies y'all have for emotional processing or making time to, integrate some of the challenging experiences you might have as you're, disrupting.
Have a co-founder. That's kind of, if I look back at my time at Venmo, Cortina and I had kind of the best balance of when I needed a little bit of a break where I was like, I needed to crash during the day or something, like he had me, and vice versa. He definitely had me more than I had him in that regard. He was one of those guys that would just never stop. But like having a that's really funny. But having a co-founder helps because I see a lot of like do-it-yourself solo founders. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of that because there's something nice about building something with, like I see Rob and Ben, and I see how you love your team. You guys are like, you're in it together. Like if you needed a break, they'd probably be like, no, we got you. Like go do your thing. Like, and vice versa. So that's what I recommend.
Who here knows about the banya or the sauna? Yeah, that's the way, right? Go to the banya. There's tons of really good banyas in New York. My favorite is Spa 88 in Feifan.
Yes.
Yeah, shout out to Spa 88. But there's one in East Village too. If you're like a little bit more bougie, you can go to like Bath House in Williamsburg. But that's my favorite way to decompress. And it's part of the Venmo culture. I learned it from Iqram and Cortina, who they hired somebody at the banya. Yeah, the banya is like extremely restorative. Check it out. Do yourself a favor and go to the banya this weekend if you haven't tried it yet.
Two-part answer, I think. The professional part of my answer is you save the fun work for when you need it, right? So like for me, coding is the fun work, but as a founder, it's not the only thing I can be doing. So I always save up a little bit of it's like if it's 9 p.m. and I feel compelled, I can go knock out a feature and that feels rewarding and fulfilling. The more fun part of my answer is, it's like you find a thing that sort of gives you energy in maybe a different way. And so I've been thinking about my work is sort of mentally challenging. I like my hobbies to be physically challenging to some extent, right? So I'll go ski and get that adrenaline rush, or I got into dance recently, and so I do Brazilian Zouk, and that's a thing that helps me get to my body and out of my head.
Next question.
Thank you. So this could be a little more technical, but consumer is hard. Like everyone knows that. You guys know that. Venmo, Stripe, especially social media. So when designing your features or releasing something new, how do you guys test that? Is it just intuition, or is it like Duolingo's like 60,000 A/B tests? Or what are you guys doing? What do you guys like doing?
My favorite thing to do is show as many people as I can as soon as it's ready to rock. So get it in the hands of people, watch them play with it, and just iterate rapidly. And yeah, and you have to like strike a balance between building everything that they request versus like saying, nudging them in a different direction, but definitely getting it in the hands of people as soon as possible.
My answer is that there should probably be like 3 features in your product and no more than that. And if you're kind of unfocused as a small team, it'll really ruin you.
I sort of have the opposite take actually. I think on our team, especially since we're building something that we're using ourselves, we kind of just build it and get a feel for it. Like, do we find ourselves organically using it a week later? Does it feel natural to use? Is it slow? Is it annoying us? So if you can build something that you yourself can use or your team can use, talk through the hell out of it.
Hello. Okay, so you guys all have a very disruptive kind of philosophy, I would say. And you also have had so much experience with like changing the world and, doing disruptive things. So I'm kind of curious when it comes, this is a question about like the point of contention with guardrails on technology. I just kind of want to ask like an open-ended question of what do you guys think on the guardrails with technology? Do you kind of have a more, cowboy philosophy or just kind of wanted to bring that up?
Yeah, boy, that's a great question. It's tricky.
Let's talk about the trust feature.
So personally, if I had to lean towards something, I'm in favor of pushing the boundaries. But in this current situation that we're in with AI, I do feel like there are these moments where you might start to think about like, what if all robots had guns and decided to do X, Y, or Z? Scary thing to think about. And now, do I want no robots? I don't know. I like the thought of robots. So I'm in a little bit of a contradictory position here because, but in general, I lean towards pushing the boundaries without violating people.
I'm going to speak on behalf of Iqram. There's this feature at Venmo in the early days. Who remembers the trust feature in Venmo? It was pretty crazy.
Oh, wow.
Basically, you could trust somebody,
Wow, that's great.
and that let you kind of withdraw money from their bank account, however much you wanted, and you do it with your close friends, your family. But it was an awesome feature. It was really cool, and unfortunate that they they nixed it. But it was mostly based on usage. Not enough people used it to justify it. But I think it's an example of kind of really pushing the boundary of what seems okay. Iqram likes to say that he wants to make a shared bank account for the entire world, which that's kind of
That would be
seeing into the future.
Bernie Sanders is trying to do it too now. Have you seen that?
Just run for president.
But yeah, imagine if we could all share money with each other for in perpetuity. Wouldn't that be cool? Kind of scary to think about, but it kind of makes sense. Zoe needs sharing tokens.
We're working on it actually.
Oh, yeah.
Feifan, any thoughts?
I believe in progress for humanity, right? And there's 2 parts of that, right? I think we're here to build and see what we can do as a species. I think I think that it's that technology has the ability to change so many things for good that I personally feel compelled to kind of keep pushing, keep building, but I'm not a sort of techno maximalist. this in the sense of like AI is going to take everyone's jobs and you can't stop it. Right? I do think like technology is in service of people, and you have to think about what you're building in the sense of like how can you empower the people to use it, or how can you design sort of like complementary pathways for people to upskill and up level and sort of ride along with the wave instead of being rolled over.
I have a question primarily for Iqram. It's about Jelly. So this is my first time hearing about Jelly, and I have built a consumer before, so I have a perspective around the short form content and the space as far as advertising, working with the brands, working with creators, and all the incentives that go along with that. And I was curious because just going from the App Store, looking at how it is, it looks like it's Reels, TikTok, but the user donates to the creator, right? And I was just curious how those incentivize, people to want to go on there, considering TikTok, Instagram, they're free to go on, and of course they have like a lot of content already on, like network effects you mentioned, they're so important. And also the advertising perspective, the capital is coming out of these platforms because advertisers want to show their content, their sponsored content, like UGC content, as well as their paid creators to creators, and the platform supplies that. So how are you sort of building those incentives in your own way on Jelly?
Yeah, so one of the ways we defeat the advertising dilemma, which is we need wait, who was that? Unbelievable. We're really turning into a that's amazing. I love that. That caught my ear. To defeat the advertising, I don't know something like that. To defeat the advertising dilemma is we have a financial system built into the ecosystem, which is cool because people open Jelly to check their wallets. They also open Jelly to trade their sort of assets, which brings us revenue. So we make revenue from transaction fees, whether it be trading stocks on Jelly or your assets, or supporting each other. What I find to be the case on Jelly, and I think actually we got some Jelly users in the house. We talked to them after. It's a very refreshing way to put your life out there because you're not swallowed by all this advertising related content. I mean, look, I'm advertising all my stuff on all the other platforms. On Jelly, I'm just being myself, posting just my slop, Iqram slop. But it's a way for me to connect with new people. I legitimately have Camilla as a friend right there, because we met on Jelly, and then we've got Omar from Ari with Jelly. We got Vihan in the back. And look at this small sort of community emerging. And they're not advertising to me or whatnot. It's just, we're just existing in this new sort of cross between Reddit, TikTok, and Venmo.
Sweet. Next question.
Hi, pleasure seeing you guys today. I know we talked a lot about success today. I just had a quick question. So what did building Zoe and Venmo and Lore, what did it cost you that you guys don't talk about on panels?
That's a good question.
Yeah, well, I had a very cushy life, similar to Feifan, working at Stripe, big tech company. It was great. Sometimes I go and visit these Stripe offices, and it's I don't get all the snacks or the fridge full of drinks. Don't have all these smart people. I mean, I have a lot of smart people on the team, but not hundreds of them kind of working with me together. So that's very different. And I used to have a chill life. I used to go to shows and rollerblade around, and it was a lot of stuff that I used to do I don't do anymore. Because you just have to make the sacrifices as a founder. But it doesn't feel like a sacrifice, I guess, because I just really love it. I love to build. At the core, that's the thing that really sustains me and makes me feel good to be alive. So I don't regret it, but it was a big life change to become a founder.
I think similarly, there's certain things I just don't have time for. I would like to ski more than I currently do. I would ideally like to spend more time finding a partner for my life, and that's coming a little bit later in my life, I guess. But I think the main thing for me is it's like you're responsible for everything at the end of the day, right? There's a team that I'm responsible for. There's people who've put their time and energy into what we're building, and ultimately it's like I have to make that succeed, and I have to make it worthwhile for all the people who believe in me, both on my team and our investors and our users, present and future. And there's like, that's a weight that you just have to carry, and you wake up with it and you go to sleep with it, and all the crap that comes day to day, you just have to deal with it. And so there's this energy balance, right? It's like something weighs you down, and can you find the energy to keep going?
So if you didn't catch that, Feifan is single. If you know any single friends, Feifan lives in SF. He's very eligible. He worked at Stripe 5 years, super early. So he's awesome. I would definitely hit him if I was single and a girl. So like, you know, yeah.
I second that. He passes the tiger test. What do we have, the challenges? That were sort of
like
close down mode.
sacrifices.
Yeah, the life cycle. You know, for me, it's kind of like I have now put myself into this sort of oblivion world where there's probably no corporate job I can have. So that is probably the sacrifice I've made. I'm sort of in this artistic endeavor for life. And I do fantasize once in a while about potentially, you know, being the chief technology officer of Stripe. But, you know, those days are gone. And along with this sort of oblivion life that you get to live as a founder, you sort of sacrifice that stability or just that normalcy that, I'm not saying it's abnormal. It's just I want more people to be like me so that, you know, it's fun, right?
Yeah.
It's tricky.
What's the most sloppy thing that you've done as like maybe like a scrappy founder in like early Venmo days? Like,
Oh, so I mean, probably moved into the Venmo office with a lot of Venmo employees because we had bed bugs in our apartment. Like, you know, that was sloppy. I know. You don't want that. See, that's what no one wants to deal with that. That was actually Matt D was my roommate in the Venmo office because we had bed bugs. And, you know, Matt D like does not want any chemicals around, so that took another couple months. And then John Graham moved in with us because he broke his ankle. You remember that, Danny? Yeah. So yeah, like it's kind of like that. Yeah, definitely not dating at that time.
I like to save time in various ways, and like I have a girlfriend, but she working at like long distance, she lives in Puerto Rico for various reasons. But anyway, I don't fold my laundry when I'm home alone. I just leave it in the dryer. It's a good hack. The dryer is like a closet. Right?
what's your sloppiest thing that you do?
Folding laundry is a waste of time.
Nice.
I think I'm definitely sloppy, just trying to find like the least embarrassing stuff. I don't know. I get a meal kit. I'm not gonna plug in particular brands, but every time I call my parents, they're always like getting upset at me for not eating or getting fruits and vegetables. And like, you should cook. It's good for you. Like, it's like mentally healthy. I'm like, yes, Dad, I would love to, but I still don't have the time.
Thank you for today's panel. So many intrusive thoughts won. I think it was really fun. My question is around building. So when you're trying to disrupt and change the behavior of your customers, so they're already used to whatever products are out on the market, and you know you're trying to change their behavior, are you explicitly saying that, you know, in some way, shape, or form, like in your messaging? Are you saying it to them when they're testing your product? Let's say you have them test in front of you, and you letting them know that you're trying to change their behavior, or do you just bake it into your product?
This is something that we've debated on our team a lot. I think one of my tenets for building a product is that you don't want a tool that people have to go to in order to use. You don't want people to have to come to you like a kiosk. You want something that sort of integrates with what people already use and does things for you. So for what we're building, it's like there's a version where we could try to build like a competitor to Slack or maybe like an alternative to Quad Code and try to get users to go into our system. But we're challenging ourselves to see, like, can we build on top of the existing tools that people already have? Can we integrate as skills into Quad Code, or can we deliver outputs without users having to necessarily even log into our products at the time? So we try to, as much as we can, we try to deliver value. We try to do something that's novel or cool or valuable without making users come to us and have to stand in front of our thing and do it.
I'm talking about onboarding. So this is not a good thing, but it's just like kind of how we've arrived. So we've had Zoe in the market for like a year, and we've never had like a real onboarding flow. We just like put it all out there for you, and basically a blank canvas, and you can figure it out for yourself. And that's like kind of worked. We're now investing more in that, but like for a long time, we just believed that like users, if they were into the product, would like kind of discover how to use it. And that's like kind of maybe a test of like your UX in some ways. Like, can it survive without an operating flow, without like education? Like, is the UX intuitive enough by itself for people to like discover it? I don't know if I would advise this. You should probably have a nice operating flow, but it's one way to do it. You don't have to like change their behavior immediately. You can just like kind of let them discover and change organically.
I think for us, it's kind of blending the mainstream world with the crypto world, like trying to have them mix well with each other. Because crypto is kind of a turn off to a lot of people, but I find it to be very sexy. So, yeah.
Thank you. We have room for one more question. My man in the blue shirt, make it good. It's the last one.
Question about crypto.
Okay, yeah.
How do you deal with what you just mentioned? Like, a lot of people have negative impression of crypto. I paid all my student loans in crypto, so I love it. But
Yeah.
how do you deal with that?
Gotta get people like Camilla to be the voice of crypto. To be honest. Yeah, talk to, how do you do it? You gotta get a taste of it. You gotta play with it. Just like people need to play with AI. Look, I'll give you one beautiful thing about crypto. You can have the same wallet in as many wallets as you can want. You can have it in Venmo, in Phantom, in Jupiter, in Jelly, multiple places, and you can access it and monitor your balances, swap, trade, just with one private key. How dope is that? Like, so basically, if you get into it, you have instant cash outs to anything. Because this whole notion of DeFi, where you own your wallet, is becoming more popular than central finance. So that alone is amazing. And then the other thing is like, Philippines. The majority of Philippines runs on crypto because it defeats their local currencies. So America, the US is kind of backwards on a lot of things because, you go around the world and you watch how people do things, you'll learn a lot. So.
Thank you. Once again, please provide a round of applause to our panel. Thank you. Before you guys go, before you guys go, I would love to take a big selfie between the panel and you guys. So if you guys can just stand up real quick for me, please.
Hi, everyone.
Walk you.
All right.
On three, Jelly. 1, 2, 3.
Jelly!
On three.
Awesome. Let me take one video too. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit of a scroll, okay? Ready? You wanna do a chant?
Let's go Knicks! Let's go Knicks! Let's go Knicks! Let's go Knicks! Let's go
Yo, by the way, the Knicks game starts. Where are we watching the game?
Maddie, you did such an awesome job.
That was awesome.
One more photo. Thanks.
When you said that, I looked just like immediately. I didn't even mention that it was anything. It was like,
Boundaries.
Oh, thank you.
It's our time that we're successfully in checking out tonight. It's the same so it's like the show's 9:30 to 11.
Should I come like at the end?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
It's 12 same as comedy club, just a block of zero. So
Oh, perfect. I'm gonna be like 3 minutes away.
yeah. So, and then it's on the panel. Ari Sinchi this year.
I'm going to Ebony Hall. Anyone's welcome. Nice to meet you. Hey, Steve, how are you doing? See you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, tomorrow. Yeah.
Yesterday there was a hackathon that's part of this NYC idea. They made you to build something which is the shittiest idea and figure out the most unethical ways to make money. So my idea was good. My idea was something you use this it was like when you go through a breakup, you get drunk and all the notes. And this was where you broke up with a girl called Jenny. I can deploy a robot and send pieces to her. And then if she wants to stop it, she makes $38. The second point was money movement. I, as a company, would take the 60% of the total amount. The 40%, the last one gets the 40%. So it's like, it was a super idea, but then it didn't make money. So the judge was like, yeah, that's not revenue stream. So you do not talk, you do not do one. You can also have the robots, so you use the Uber Eats robots. Listen. Don't take it seriously. Yeah. So the idea was that the other guy who won. Non people. Just on the house. Is it illegal? No, the idea had to be illegal. But giving a lot of because it's unethical. No, completely. Because the other idea that was wrong was, let's say I lost somebody pretty close, I'll put in a picture, and it starts to message me your phone, and then I think that you're talking to me, and then it's still the me I'm trying to get the payment people. You have to start paying. So that 1 second, and the guy who posted this is writing a document. He's like, why is this? All this kind of last so then you don't have to see his guy takes $1 and puts it in his account. So for every time somebody's getting it paid for the party, he's just getting $1. No, but it's illegal to take something funny. But it's you're increasing the $1 in that. No, but he was also putting the QR code in random places. The parking is not allowed. So sometimes your car would get told. No, it's not inconvenient. The guy is paying everything because he doesn't want it to look like it's a bad high difference. Sometimes he can do like 50 cents. And it's that's how you promote in the event, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. Because the whole point he was exported to Microsoft. Like, payment deal, and I want some garbage. Then I go there, I'm like, this is what I need. So I I've been in the crypto space for a long time. Like I worked for Fidelity University, and I'm holding in the crypto startup. So I already know of exporters. So yesterday there was Coinbase help. So just come over a CLI and you can just put the email and have wallets for the agents. So I was making Coinbase all the vendors, all the wallet, just the ones who support exporters. The agents can become completely autonomous. Buy stuff and order the new. Running up to some smaller AI model. Coinbase is supporting Stripe because we are also getting into and a lot of agents are lose a lot of money. So we came up with NPP, machine payment protocol. And somehow it's a level to export. The export those transactions crazy. Also, I just talking about that. Kevin is still with Coinbase, so Microsoft was just pulling money away. They want software to sell us so that even developers to be stuff. So NPV is incredible, but I haven't done much business with that. I just got to know 2 weeks back. But for export to work, you need the other partners, like for example, Exo.ai, which provides real-time news for agents. They have the expertise. Likewise, they have open market technologies, so we can get live let's say a code of quad code will have a wallet, and you can have quad code to be like use W to give me the right link or Exo.ai and say send. And you can also develop a dashboard using Datadog, which was one of the projects that we were doing with our friends. 2 weeks back, there was a hackathon in Datadog. It was interesting. We were just coding to see a dashboard where it shows you where the agents are paying you. And then you see cluster of payments, so you know what your agents are heavily doing and stuff. It was more of a group. I'm not a coder. I'm just like trying to learn things, a lot of things at the same time. I don't know Jackson and coding. You guys are like real software engineers. And the first thing I want to do tonight, the moment I reach home, is try Zoom. So excited. Because there's one thing that your founders say, is like, now everybody can feel like what it means to deploy, or feel like what it means to deploy tech. Because like coming from a creative background, I'm like doing my PhD in mathematics and stuff right now, but like I'm okay to go technical, but I'm just like what it is becoming more of a language place. Where the clearer you communicate, the better you get. Which is why I think that capitalizing on it, I love that. But I think somebody's doing the hard work. You guys are the OGs of Venmo. Substack is you guys. That is one tool that has changed my life. It's such a good way. Like every morning when sorry for my language, every morning when I sleep, I'll be on Instagram feed. Last year, like 2 months back, when somebody told me about Substack, I'm like, this is a fucking good place to be at. Shorter stuff, not long lead stuff, and it's like now somebody's coming with Poits, you know that? The newsletter, Poits, PRC. So what this is like right now, I used to get this with a subscription. This takes all the subscription in one place. And like GitHub, it also makes the card for me. So I only use Substack and Port. This allows me to summarize and read things. But again, Substack is human written. So like both of those tools are like making my life so easy in terms of gaining new knowledge. Thank you. Because they really make a lot of people like not enjoyable. Are you guys are planning to integrate wallets and stuff for crypto payments? It would happen because the international writers and stuff, we don't do execution. But like for him, it's right as export too. Yeah, they're like oh, okay. I have X1 credit card. That's, I don't know if you guys know that X1 credit card is the one where you can put the limit and expiration. I think you guys know Substack. That is the most interesting. The UX is simple. It's also easy to onboard. It didn't look daunting for me, and I want to help so many things. It's easy. Can I add you on LinkedIn though? I would also love to share my thoughts after using Zoom because I'm going to put it on LinkedIn. Yeah, you and antagonist. 100%, I will tell you guys. At some point, I mean, other reasons, but the reality, like the you can also like you can also like measure quantify KPI. Yeah, so you can actually just using some which talking about value Yeah, that's the idea. I have Oh, you are. Sorry, I was just showing him this. I've been playing for 10, 11 years, so like, crazy when I go to one people are like keeping this as a wallpaper. Even when I should have taken it down. Yeah, you can see. So go to search. I mean, you could directly open the camera also. Yeah, but now that you're already linked, it makes it easier. Yeah, exactly. And then just hit connect what you're following and stuff. I like all of it. I love to have a network of people, like if you have music, websites, anything. If you want to nerd out good, if you guys want to nerd out very good. If you guys want to talk about software, even better. Perfect. You guys are doing all kinds of stuff, right? I won't talk shit about software. Yeah, okay. It's done by AI. I can even show you ChatGPT. Let me see this. Okay, wait, what's it? I couldn't. Okay, listen, I went to LLM and I had like 4 pictures, okay? Okay. I had one in Indian and my family is Indian and they moved me a long time back. Yeah, 10, 15 years back. We went to a wedding and I had a good picture for the first time in my whole life.
And you made it even better?
No, the problem is they said like Indian and I'm like, if I put this on LinkedIn, they'll feel like I'm stupid. I went on ChatGPT and I'm like, make this call for it. So that just started to turn my nose upside down and I'm like, oh, this is garbage. And I used Gemini, didn't work, then my ChatGPT worked smooth as butter. The only last thing I did is ask it to like build it straight. I couldn't do that. So I started to take my neck like this and I still had this is not working. So okay.
You know, it's getting like Indian cinema here. So like you're good.
That works. Bollywood. But that's like Bollywood won't work on LinkedIn. Yeah. That makes me cry. So yeah. Okay, what's your name?
I'm Sohan.
Sohan?
Yeah.
So find some Indian name. Or like some Asian name that I can remember. John Jennings, I don't know, Peter Parker.
Simple enough.
Yeah. I'll see you guys around. I'm just going to say hi to 2 people, but good to meet you.
All right. Nice to meet you.
Bye. $10. Aren't you going to Bali? Is it going to Bali? Excited? You got them back.